It's a high-tech conversation.
And a low-tech topic.
Live on the World Wide Web via Zoom. Bench Talk 101.
Welcome everybody to tonight's Bench Talk 101. Over the last few weeks, I've been privileged to allow other people to run the show. Last week we had Chester that was running it, and previous to that we've had Shrenik do a lot. Unfortunately, Shrenik can't be with us at the start tonight, but he will be with us later. He lost his father at the end of last week, and the funeral is today. So he will be joining us later, where he would like to have a few drinks with us and be with like-minded people. So that's why he's not here at the moment. But it's been really interesting to hear the comments just as we're leading up to starting now, and this COVID that started all this, and there's a lot of awful things that have come out of COVID, but also a lot of great things that have come out of COVID. And I think that for me, listening to Scott talk about his passion with this group and not meeting like-minded people, I think that's really, really nice to hear. And one of the things he was saying was about, well, wouldn't it be great if we could all meet? Well, I've got a bit of an idea there. I'm gonna host a course, a woodworking course in London in the first week of November. I'm looking at making a dovetailed wall cabinet with through mortise and tenon shelf. Looking at having sort of a tongue and groove, beaded back to it, and a raised panel door on the front. And what I'm thinking here is that actually this will be great if I could get together the bench talkers and open it up to all of you guys. The idea really is that it's a 3-day course. A lot of you will think, well, why would I want to make a wall cabinet? We're going to call it a whiskey cabinet because it sounds a bit better and we can have a few drinks. But the idea there is actually that we can actually meet each other, because a lot of us have never met before, and it would be great to catch up. The course itself is only going to have 10 people on it. But what I do realize is that not everybody will be able to do it, and not everybody will want to make a whiskey cabinet. And so therefore some people would just want to drop in and say hello to the group, and maybe we could make one of the evenings a feature night where we can have a dinner together or something along those lines. The course itself, I'm going to host it at the college, and the price I'm looking at charging is £295 per person plus materials, and the materials we're looking at about £65. So it's about £360 per person. But the idea here actually is that every bench talker you can come for free. Okay, so the course to everybody here, everybody that attends, will be free. Okay, but I'd like you to make a donation. And the donation, I'd like it to go to the Macmillan nurses, to go with Jim and to Richard in their charity, to what they're doing. So, we could raise another 3,000-4,000. We could raise £1,000. I think the idea is that it's you can be as generous or whatever. But if you can't afford it, don't make a donation. Just turn up and be there, because I think the whole point of this is that we all get together and we can have a bit of a giggle. So the days are that the 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th of November, which obviously the 4th is a Thursday. So we could maybe do a live version of the bench talk with all the people that come down on the course, and then those people that didn't make it can join us on the Zoom as well. So that's save the date for your diary. I will email you all. Hopefully it's something that you might want to be interested in, and we could raise a bit of money for the charity as well. So I don't know what everybody thinks. Hopefully that's something that you'd maybe like to consider.
That's good. My son is going to be leaving Philadelphia, going to Cardiff this fall. The Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama. He's a double bass player, and he's doing a postgraduate diploma program. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that I could be there. So that's good to know, and thanks for the advance notice.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, by the way, could one of you guys pick him up at Heathrow with his bass? No.
Well, I mean, maybe one of us could do that. But obviously, this is all COVID willing. I'm saying 10 people on the course because then we can spread out, and that means that you can have one of the huge benches yourselves, and we can have gaps in between them all, so that you don't have to be on top of each other. But hopefully by then, COVID will be less of a big deal. Hopefully, a lot of people would have been vaccinated, and we would be getting through the right end of it. So I'm hoping to welcome people from all over the world. It would be great to see people from Canada, America, Ireland, even over in Austria, somebody over there, maybe someone like that. Oh, Rusty's raising his glass there. Maybe Rusty wants to come on.
I'm going to commit right now. I'm coming.
Oh, brilliant.
Funny story. Never been to England.
Really?
Yeah, been to the airport a couple of times, but that's it.
Doesn't count.
But I've been told not all you people are like Jim Hendrix.
You're actually assuming that we're going to let you in, though, aren't you, really?
I'm assuming that those who don't want me in don't have any power to stop me.
I'll pick you up.
So there we go. So look, tonight's version of this topic talk is all about your favourite tools, and some of the posts on the Instagram have been quite funny about which child is your favourite, and you don't really think about those. I'm sure that the tools don't really know that you're talking about them and talking about others like that. So we can hope to see that. So if you want to, I'll put it so that people can share their screens. But I think the best way to do this is like we do with the questions before, and if you put your name in the chat, and then we'll come to you, and then we'll let you share your screen or hold it up, and I'll try and do the old spotlight on you for the camera, and see what you've got there. So Paul is up for one first of all. Paul, over to you.
Hiya. Oh, which one have I hit now? Right. This is my favourite, and it's an old C.G. Johnson's coffin plane, which was my dad's. And I've turned it into a scrub because it was left in the garage and the iron was absolutely shot. But that's the reason why, because I remember it from when I was a kid. And as I say, it got abused, but I've managed to make it, and it does pretty coarse shavings. But it's nice to have it working. And that's it, really. Coffee through the scrub.
Lovely. So I don't know quite how we want to do this, because this is the first time we've done any of this. I don't know if people want to join in and comment and talk about their scrubs or...
I also have a pig.
Lovely.
Is that your favorite pig?
I'll tell you in a few hours. The last one was pretty good, though.
Lovely. Wine's kicking in already then. So Matthias up next.
Yes, that was not an easy task. I love all my tools. Do I love them? Yes, I do. I don't consider myself a tool collector, but I am a tool acquirer. That is to say, I enjoy buying tools, I enjoy owning tools, and I will buy them now, even if I only think I might have a project where I'm going to need them in 5 years' time or 10 years' time or whatever, because they're there now and I don't know if they will be there tomorrow. However, so I'm going to run a couple of the almost favorite candidates just past the screen very quickly. This is a favorite of mine, a Bad Axe 14-inch carcass. It's I sort of went by the definition when I was thinking about favorite. The ones that I find do the best that which they are supposed to do. Which you will find that the final selection is not something particularly fancy as such or advanced as such, but it's something. Another huge favorite of mine is my number 5, a Lee Nielsen number 5. this is, I think, the sweetest of all my planes. It's the one that, part of that I think is the one I've worked with the most, so it's the one that I'm the most familiar with, but it is also the one that I found it quickest to get really, really well acquainted with. Third up was the a Blue Spruce 16-ounce round mallet. It's just gorgeous. The balance of the thing is wonderful. Now, the runner-up is another Blue Spruce one. It's their small forged marking knife, spare-edged marking knife. This one is, I love it. I love spare-edged marking knives to start with. I prefer them to all others, but this one is the fact that the handle part of it has been tapered and rounded off and given this lovely texture. It's extremely tactile. It's very, very well balanced, both as a pencil or in any other position, and it takes a wicked edge. This is a tool I really, really, really love. It's, I also have a Ron Hock spare point. I have the David Charlesworth one that Phil Edwards makes. And those are lovely, but the handle on this one is so much better, and the balance on this one is so much better. But the winner is this small double square by Chris Vesper over in Australia, because it's, I mean, square is square. You can't get more square than square, but this one is so well made that it's almost, when you put it up against something, an edge that really is properly square, it's almost as though it's sucked in by a vacuum. The surfaces are that good, that precise. And also it's just the right balance in your hand. It's very, very easy to hold it up and to read and to see if something is properly square or if it's off even by a smidgen. And it's the one that came with a full complement of the two narrow blades, the dovetail blade and the narrow rule, and also with the longer 150 millimeter rule. But this one, and the mechanism also, it's very sweet. It's very easy to move about. I love it. I think it's without doubt one of my absolute favorite tools. There we go. That was it.
Lovely. Well, that's
Nice.
a good ranking order as well. So, Jim up next.
That's really weird, Matthias, because I had the same problem. I can't even think of which of my, you know, it's exactly, I think was Mitch saying, you know, try and choose your favorite child. So I think I like the ranking order business, and I'm going to add a few that I haven't got with me here because they're down the bottom. But the two that are production items like that, 100% thumbs up on the Vespa Square. It is. It has. You just put it in your. It's next to me most of the time, but I've left it down in the workshop tonight. Yeah. Absolutely worth every penny, and with all the different blades, the tiny little dovetail ones, absolutely perfect. The second one on the production line things is the new concept saw, which is, you know, I've seen all the other ones and the fret saws and the coping saws, but I think the 5.5 one is I got it years ago and I use it every project. There's not one project that I mean, obviously with tool making, you're going to need it more often, but that's another one. Of the tools that if I had to grab, I think I tried to define it as if I had to grab the tools if there was a fire in the cabin, and I had to try to grab as many as possible in ranking order. They're all obviously ones that I couldn't replace. So, you know, I could replace a square or a new concept saw or those things later on with just money. But ones that you make yourself, I think, you know, are valuable to yourself. the runner-up would be this. We were talking actually, Sarah. We were talking about how things patinate, but this was pure white almost boxwood, and it's boxwood and ebony pencil gauge, and it's one I made a long while ago from scraps. So that kind of has a lot of sort of emotional attachment to it, and it uses a sawn off clutch pencil, which basically is just sawn off, literally, and put back together again. So that fits in there, and of course you can just sharpen that the same way and replace the leads as and when. So this I use all the time as well, and that came up when you're on the subject of gauges. I suppose the most favorite in terms of the amount of work that went into it, and the amount of complexity was the Holtzapfel gauge. I think this I would struggle to make this again. I think I must have been on a wave that week. But to me it's one of the most favorite. But it has to be this, doesn't it, really? Because I mean, obviously, if I didn't say it wasn't Richard, then absolutely, because the emotional attachment to my mate Richard, and also the fact that I use it for anything that's when I want to make a really special job, and it's the perfect size for a jointer, for a smoother, for anything where I'm dimensioning wood and I know it's going to have to come out. I used it this week to make the screwdriver, which I would choose as my favorite, but I have to give it away, so I'm not gonna develop any emotional attachment. But 100% Richard and his box, which he's living in now, and I moved everything to put him there, and I think I'll keep him there. So that's it.
Lovely. Richard Hughes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good evening. So what we have here is it's a gouge. It's a Molson Brothers gouge, 1/2 inch, number 8 sweep. And I like gouges anyway because they take you away from straight lines and flat surfaces. But this one, I use it a lot, and it takes a better edge than any other of my gouges. Well, that's my opinion. I've got no scientific basis for it, but anyway, I'm very fond of it. And the other reason that I'm fond of it is that in 1988, my father died, and shortly after that, his workshop was burgled, and most of the tools were taken. And this is one of the few survivors, so it's nice to have a connection that way. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Rusty.
Hey, so I have two. One is this, and that is a bronze-filled mallet. Not only it feels great, the story of me getting it is pretty cool. I found it on eBay in UK. It's 2.5 pounds, by the way. And the gentleman said that he's not willing to ship to US or accept bids from the US. And I was able to convince Ted Cole, a gentleman I've never met, by the way, but we had a few laughs on Facebook, to put in a bid for me. And that was a winning bid. And then another person picked it up from Ted and carried it over here. And I've since put a new head in. It had a pretty ugly looking split piece of oak in it. I don't really know how old it is. I have the old head with the old owner's mark. I use it for things that it probably was not designed. In fact, the reason there is leather on it here is because I really don't like the sound it makes when I hit the chisel with this walnut head that I put in. I think the handle is rosewood. My guess is it's about 150 years old. but that's purely a guess. Of all the Infill mallets, in my opinion, that's the most beautiful one. Anytime I get a chance to use it, I will. And sometimes I'll use it for things I probably should be using a different tool. But that's one. But the other one, and I'm sorry if I'm going to embarrass one of you guys, but this is the other one. And this one is also called Richard, and this one is made by Richard Arnold. And I find that I gravitate to using unfinished lumber so that I get to use this 4-plane. It feels wonderful. I can almost feel Richard energy and skill teaching me how to do and how not to do things as I use it. Richard, I don't know if you want to say anything about the history of this plane. I understand it's a replica of 18th century plane.
Well, sort of. It's my interpretation of what an English 4-plane from around 1700 may have looked like. The reason being is that none exist. No surviving planes from that period exist. So from various clues of old trade cards and pictures and shop signs, that was my interpretation of what they may have looked like. So that's it, really.
And I understand that owning this plane qualifies me to do a 5-year apprenticeship in your shop. Is that right?
No, at least 7.
At least 7. Sign me up. I'll be there in November, Richard.
Okay, I shall see you then.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rusty. So Rob's up next.
Oh, fantastic. So my new favorite tool is one that Rusty is making me, beautiful Spokeshave. I'm super excited about receiving it. And
sorry, Rob, I decided to keep it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm very
You're gonna
excited.
make me cry, man.
Oh, I'm very honored that you made me a Spokeshave. It's very unique to get someone to make you something that beautiful, and I'm very honored, and I'm looking forward to showing my boys how to use it. And I think my younger one is going to be someone that will grow into some tools. So hopefully it gets handed off and make some beautiful chairs one day. I'm really excited. So thank you for building me that Spokeshave.
Thank you. It's going to be in Brazilian cherry called Jatoba. Geoffrey, I'm hoping yours still works. Were you able to get shavings with it?
Yeah, I was. I'm absolutely. I've got my little selection of tools over here, and guess what? There might be a Rusty.
Oh no!
Shave in there as well. So. And I'm quite interested that, Rob's favorite tool is he hasn't even got it yet. I think that's quite impressive, really. I mean,
that's a lot of pressure, eh?
Well, how do you know, Rob? It might be rubbish. It could be terrible. But I have to assure you, this one is really good, really fine. I got some lovely, really fine shavings out of it. It's beautiful, and just it's lovely, lovely bit of kit. So
isn't the next tool always the best tool though? Isn't the imaginary tool sometimes it's like the untapped? It can always be better, right?
Right. I'm turning into a big nerd about learning chair building, and I'm very excited to spend the time, and to get something like that for me means a lot. More than all the other ones. I have 4 other ones, and I got a Lee Nielsen 102 low angle block plane. I got DFM Toolworks marking knife that I got in the fall, and then the number 62 low angle, which I actually got to meet Tom Lee Nielsen at event at Jeff Miller's place in Chicago, and that was one of the first Lee Nielsens that I ever bought, and I was very young, and I was enthralled by what it was to use a hand plane. I was invited to the event from a friend, and Matt Vanderlist and I met up at the event, and he had his own podcast, and that was a brand new thing at the time, about 11 years ago, from a few days ago. And that was what really pulled me into furniture building, which meant a lot to my wife. She's very happy, although I spend a lot of money on tools. I bought a flow rip dovetail saw, and I see how important it is to support small tool makers and really show them off to people and get more people to buy hand tools and love hand tools that are built by small manufacturers and people who are striving to build something unique, and showing the public that it's important that we support these small tool makers. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time sharing my passion.
Lovely. Thank you, Rob. And over to Sarah now.
Well, I don't know whether you'd be able to see it.
Oh, look at that.
Ooh.
It's so heavy. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Well, when Bill bought it about 30 odd years ago, the iron was right down here. It had been hit so many times that the man had cut the top of the wedge off so he could keep using it. So it must be very old. It's bashed about at the back, and he's infilled it with boxwood because he loves boxwood and he loves mitre planes. That lovely sheen, that lovely patina, Jim. And another one.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, it's, that is my favourite of Bill's collection. Yeah, and I think that's the one I said to him, you'll never sell it. And he said, well, everything's got a price.
Well, he has sold it 4 times and bought it back 4 times. So, yeah. But
I have to call it the Boomerang Plane.
I've got all fuzzy. And this one, the original was in David Russell's collection, and in his book, Bill tried to buy it, but he was outbid by David Russell. So when it came up for sale after he died, he bought it, and this is a replica. And it was really, as you can imagine, it was really hard to make. And Bill couldn't do the scrolls. He'd never made scrolls before. So our good friend Tim said he'd have a go. He's never done a scroll before. And he had a go. And there's 14 scrolls. There's even 2 little scrolls at the end of the wedge. Wow. I mean, I don't know whether it was ever used, but it was just an amazing plane. And of course, a lovely bit of boxwood. So that's it. Okay.
Beautiful, isn't it? And while you're there, Sarah, you know, with my my little collection behind me, I've got quite a few of Bill's planes, but you know, the one that we put on the
yes, that was lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely lovely. So it's a brass back saw. And
I can't remember the maker. Oh, Taylor, London, yeah.
London, yeah. And you've got Bill's marks here and here. And then when you look at the front, you've got the Carter on there. But
Cupid's bow.
Yeah, you've got the copper and the brass, and then you've got the boxwood. So really, you know, this will look great in a few years' time when it's had the chance to patinate.
Yeah, the boxwood will be fantastic in years to come. Yeah.
Thank you, Bill, if you're in the background listening.
Right. Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you very much. So we're on to Nick now.
Hello. So I picked out a couple of tools, and I realised there was a link between the two of them. Before I was into woodworking, I used to go to old car rallies. I was interested in running Triumph cars and that kind of stuff. And I at both of a couple of rallies, I bought some old woodworking tools before I was a woodworker, just because they looked nice and there was something right about them. And the first one is a Ward chisel with a really, really nice square handle that's kind of chamfered at the edges. And like Richard's gouge, it takes the most fantastic, fabulous edge. And it's about 1.25 inches wide, and it just gets used for kind of everything. It's just fabulous. And I had no idea, you know, it will have been couple of quid at the time, bought it maybe 20 years ago, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I had no idea what I was buying, and there was just something about it that was right. And the same thing for a saw. A really aggressive rip saw.
Yikes.
It's a scary looking thing. It's marked 3.5 teeth per inch.
From Jules.
It's the medallion on it says the Pennsylvania Saw Corporation, but on the blade itself, it's marked Crownshaw Chapman, obviously Sheffield. I'll see if the camera will pick that up.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a delight to use when I'd sharpened it. It was a substitute for a bandsaw before I had one. And even every now and then, I'll just use it for the fun of it. It's just a monster. And it'll punch through. I've cut through 4-inch oak with it. It's just, it's a fabulous thing. And again, well, look at that handle, isn't it beautiful?
That's a dolphin, Sheffield dolphin style, isn't it?
The horns are intact, which is really unusual.
I think they call it lamb's tongue in the States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is that the lamb's tongue there?
Yeah, it really reminds me of number 12 of distant handles.
That's Crowshaw Chapman, there, Nick, and it's only 1 year, so I can tell you exactly what year it is.
Right.
1859.
Really?
Yeah. And it would have been sold across as part of the early tool migration to America, because they bought, prior to Diston and various other American manufacturers, they bought quite a lot of British saws and shipped them over that would have almost certainly been sold through an agent in Pennsylvania, I would have thought.
So
unless...
Sorry, Jim. So that's why it's got the Pennsylvania medallion.
Yeah, I would think that's the retailer, or somebody replaced the medallion nut, which doesn't look like it's been moved. Does it? On the back. Do the split nuts look? Are the split nuts all very?
Well, the weird thing is, it's not got split nuts.
Oh, they're riveted. Yeah, that's fine.
It's actually got slots.
It could. That one looks like it might have actually been changed by the looks of it, because it looks a different color to the rest. So, but maybe it's just because it's a medallion nut. So
yeah. No, you're dead right. The screw on the back of the medallion is a different color to the others.
Is it? You should be able to tell whether or not it's been attacked with a screwdriver if it's marred at all. I don't know why anybody. They look okay to me.
Yeah, they look pretty clean actually.
Yeah, I reckon. So anyway, it's 160 years, 70 years old.
Wow.
Good golly.
And the horns are intact, and it's been used and sharpened. It just boggles the mind.
They're actually made in Snow Lane in Sheffield, and they were a machine knife manufacturer. So that would have been early power tools. And you talked about it being like a bandsaw or a replacement for instead of a bandsaw. So That's probably why. It's not known whether this firm had any connection, with America. So, but it's W.J. Chapman was the principal owner of it.
Thanks for that.
In the book.
Cheers.
No problem.
Brilliant, brilliant. So Scott, up next.
Hey guys. I don't actually have my favourite tool yet. I'll tell the story and then I've actually got my favourite tool that I've got here. My favourite tool I want and I will get someday is my dad's hammer. And the reason for that is that it sings. And I know that's a flaw in hammers, and I know that the claws actually resonate like a tuning fork. But from a very, very young age, working with him, I knew where he was on the building site because I could hear his hammer, and it sounded different. It sounded different to everyone else's. I spoke to him at the weekend, and he still has it, but he's keeping it obviously, and he's not going to pass it over for a long, long time yet. But someday, I obviously hope to actually have his hammer, so I actually have something. And I do have a lot of his tools. So I had to try and pick something that something maybe that I had made. And part of my tool making journey started a couple of years ago when I went on it was supposed to be a ski and do course. And I already had a ski and do. I made one a few years ago from a kit. And I went into the blacksmithing forge for the ski and do course. And I had no intention of making one. And I showed them plans and drawings, and I started off, and I've actually made a nice sleeve for it. So a wooden sleeve to actually hold it. But I started off with a 3/4 inch railway bolt off the railway lines, which I think has got a reasonable amount of carbon in it in the first place. And that whole process of learning how to heat it up in the forge and bring it up to working temperature. And basically, I forced myself a Kiridashi. So all the hammering on that is all hand hammered. It's not neat, it's not clean. And it's certainly not even going around the curve because it was all bent by hand by me. And I think sometimes that the greatest journey you go on is the one that takes the most effort. And I've never found anything so hard in my life as trying to actually hit metal so hard that you're trying to forge it into something to a shape. The actual grinding and the sharpening of it was the easy part actually, because I've been sharpening tools and chisels my whole life, obviously. But and I found that very, very easy. But actually forging a piece of steel into something that's usable, and I absolutely adore using it. It's actually got a little nick. It's actually like a bend just in the front of it, and it makes it so easy just to put your finger in there when you're actually drawing it across, if you're actually scoring across the grain. The back of it is not flat either. I've only flattened up the first, it's hard to get that in camera, the first kind of couple of inches on the back of it. Obviously polished. I'm not saying I try and keep a lot of my tools very polished and very sharp, but it means a lot to me. It was something I think, and again, that journey, I wish I had my dad's hammer here. He's still got it, and I'm quite happy he's got it, and I don't actually want it until, I'm not saying he's finished with it, but that stinging hammer stings in my head, and I don't know if anyone's got anything they want to say about it. Singing hammers, I think it might be a flaw in it. Some people might actually remember them as being annoying, and I've read online that people hate hammers that sing. For me, it's something that just brings back memories of my childhood and working with my dad. And it's the most amazing thing that I could hear on a building site was actually his hammer tinging away in the background.
That's lovely, Scott. And I think there's quite a link here with a lot of us with these tools. It's about the people, isn't it? It's about the connection. It's
the story, the journey, and it's part of the thing that's got me into tool making. You guys know I've been making dovetail markers. I will make a miter plane someday. It's a journey that I'm on just now. It's a long journey, and it will progress, and you guys will hopefully join me through that and see my journey through that. I'll be sharing it with you the whole way. But the whole tool making thing, as Jim can see, we've all seen the tools that Jim's made over the years, phenomenal. And this is only the start of my journey, even though I'm in my 50s.
It's lovely. It's lovely, lovely. Right, Daryl on next.
Hello from Canada. I don't think I'm going to be going to your course because it's a little far, and there's still travel restrictions here. My favorite tool is an off-brand transitional jack plane. It's made by Hunt Manufacturing Company. I have no idea who they were. Just about every piece of rough lumber that comes in the shop gets this run over it. It does its job perfectly. Yeah, I have some other nicer planes, but this one does everything. And my kind of second favorite tool is a little dovetail saw I picked up. This one is probably can't see any markings on it. It's made by R.H. Smith. It says successors to J. Flint, which places its date around 1875. It was in horrible shape, rusty, covered in blue paint, with a hole in the handle, and terribly dull. And I got it for $2 at someone's junk sale. And I have cut all the dovetails in all the furniture that I've got and all the stuff I've made with this poor little saw. It's got a nice handle on it though, very comfy.
Yeah, yeah. Do you sharpen it yourself as well?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Even the worst sharpening job is better than a dull saw.
Yeah.
Proof right here.
Lovely. Good. So next up is Bruce.
So in the late 90s, started seeing ads for the Terry Gordon planes, and they said you can push them, you can pull them, you can reverse the blade, make a scraper blade. And I didn't believe it, but then he was at a woodworking show in Philadelphia, and yep, it really could do all those things. So I bought one and brought it home, sharpened it, and it did everything as advertised. And it was also the plane that set up fastest of anything I've owned. The half tool, I went back 2 days later with a stack of distance saws. I mean, before eBay, distance saws were, you could go to a flea market in Philadelphia without seeing distance saws for $5. And I traded him a distant back saw and a crosscut saw for the small palm smoother. And this is really good for my Japanese, touring the sole of my Japanese planes. But far and away, and I'm not saying that because she's upstairs, but my wife gave me this fancy pants Veritas block plane, or as I call it, a Buck Rogers plane, 10 years ago for Christmas. And this is really, of all the planes I have, it's the nicest one. And when I was making a box for my parents' ashes 9 years ago, I knew I was going to be using that plane. And well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, lovely, lovely, Bruce. Thank you, thank you. So Richard's up next.
Hi, everyone. As everyone else has made allusions to, it's very difficult to pick. Some of the contenders I had, one of them's behind me here. It's a Stanley 50 that came in the box. I bought it. I'm very pleased to have it, but I don't like using it. I find the plane very fiddly to use, and it's unforgiving. You easily bites back when you don't have it properly in the furrow. So even though I love having the box plane, and it's something I like to show off, it's not my favorite. The other contenders are things I made myself. Up on the side there is a Moxon vise that I made it's quite a nice piece, I think. I'm quite proud of it, but I very seldom use it, and it's not something that I really use. But that was my criterion I used, was what do I use every time? And that happens to be my bench. And it was only the very second tool that I ever made. I made a little mallet following a Paul Sellers video that I watched. And that was my kickstart into woodworking. And I don't have it. I actually gave it to my son-in-law. So, but anyway, that mallet was the starting point. And from then, I've been working on my workbench. That was my second tool that I made. And I absolutely love it. I'm going to switch my camera view. Has that worked?
No.
I've got, there we go. Yeah. I had the cover in the way. I'm working on an iPad. So here is my workbench. And on my workbench, I've arrayed the tools that I had at the time. which I built it with. Well, I had other tools that I got from my father, that hand brace up on the wall there, and the Sureform rasp were others that I considered. But I bought the metalworker's vise, and I got the handsaw and the plane, the Falcon plane from my father, and the square and the hammer. And I didn't have any clamps, so I went to Lidl and bought a pack of 3 by 2. So I had 6 clamps. And these were a limiting factor in my workbench, in that they exactly show the size of my workbench. I couldn't make it bigger than that, except when I came to this side where I had the dog holes. I then had a bit more wiggle room because I could use the dog holes then to put it together. But I made it very simply. Everything is just cut. There's no real joinery in it, except for maybe when I cut the wedges for the tenon there. But everything is just glued together. So the leg is laminated, and a gap was left for the through tenon over there. I left all the gaps then, the shorter lengths for all the dog holes down the bench. The same thing for the top, that the tenon through there is just, and so showing from underneath, it's not very clear there. Is it clearer over here? I hope I'm not making you all drunk, but it's just laminated and put up through there. I'm quite proud of the fact that I managed to do drawbar tenons, but I didn't realize that putting the dowels on in a row wouldn't do much good, but it's holding up, even though I made a faux pas like that. And the other thing I'm quite proud of is this little stretcher over here. I didn't know, I still haven't really found anyone else who's done it, but on the inside of the leg, I have put a dovetail into the leg. So this has a dovetail going in behind that stretcher there. So that dovetail is held in place by this stretcher, which is then drawbarred in. And it's a very good joint that I came up with out of my own imagination, and I'm quite pleased about it. I'm sure that other people have done it, but I hadn't seen anyone do it before. I just thought it was a good idea. And I started my woodworking journey on this about 4.5 years ago. And that vise was my main vise for about 2 years until I turned I found that I could cut threads in wood, and I turned myself a screw. It was a 1-inch screw to start off with. That's a 1.5. And I just had it, the screw thread into the leg, but that being soft pine, it pulled out eventually. Now it's got a hard maple nut at the back there with a 1.5 inch. And my little dogs that pop up with another invention of mine. I don't know if anyone else has done them that way, but I've got a little wooden spring in the side of it like that to hold it in place. And they get a bit beat up, and I can cut the length, cut it shorter, and it's nice and neat again. So anyway, I use it every single day that I'm up here in my workshop in the attic, and I love it. I'm proud of it still to this day, even though the wood has shrunk. This centerpiece used to be totally filling the gap, and the boards have shrunk to such an extent that it now has a huge gap on either side. But the thing is that because I designed it like that, I didn't realize it at the time. There's been no stress to the frame because the gap in the middle has just allowed the two bench tops to pull away from each other, and the gap has widened in the middle without affecting the structure at all. So that's my favorite tool, my workbench.
Lovely. It looks like you're up in the loft.
I am. It's my attic.
And so the bench is staying up there for good.
It is, and this is my wife's storage side. I've put some insulation up into the ceiling for her over there. And it's still a work in progress on my side. You know, you've got to keep the ladies happy. So I've finished off her side first. And so that's a work in progress for me still.
Oh, lovely. Well, thank you very much, Richard. Okay, so we're now going to move to another Richard who's very popular tonight, Richard Arnold.
Hi there, Geoffrey. This is my sort of favourite tool, or should I say, part of a tool. The reason being is that many years ago, I left school at 16 and I hadn't really had a clue what I wanted to do with my working life. And by pure chance meeting, my mother met my future boss at a school parents' evening just before I was about to leave school. And I ended up working as a joiner in his firm, which was the same firm that my grandfather worked at. My grandfather had died 2 or 3 years previous to all this, but my father saved his tools in a tool chest, which when I started my apprenticeship, I took to work. And in a modern workshop, they were practically useless because most of them were pre-industrial wooden tools. I was quite a way into my apprenticeship and didn't really know whether it was for me, whether I wanted to really be a woodworker. But one day I had a bit of an epiphany. I thought I've either got to give this up now or I've got to make a real stab at it. I thought, no, I'm going to have a real good stab at it. And I started to examine the tools that were in my grandfather's tool chest. And I found this. And I hadn't a clue what it was. I couldn't work out whether it was a gauge or what it was. And I asked the old joiners in the workshop, I said, you know what we use this for? And they said, no, I haven't a clue what that is. And I puzzled over it. I couldn't work out whether it was some sort of bevel or a square for measuring or what. Anyway, I continued to search through the tool chest and look at the other tools. And one day, I suddenly realised there was this other plane in there. And I thought, wait a minute, it's got holes in it. And it's a bit like stems on that other bit. And I worked out that the two pieces were in actual fact from one tool. And putting them together, I became the proud owner of my first ever plow plane. And from that, I just thought, this is an amazing tool, but how was it used? And I started doing research into old tools and what have you, and I wanted to try it out and see how it worked. And just from that one simple thing of owning my grandfather's plow plane and wanting to find out how it was used, I wouldn't be talking to you today on here if it wasn't for that plane. So that's my favourite plane, my favourite tool. If I had to leave the house now and let my whole collection burn, the one what I'd take would be this. It's not really very great value commercially. It was made by Kay of Nottingham. Well, they're probably retailers. I think it was probably made by King of Hull. No great value at all, just a late 19th century plough. And he bought all his tools after he came out of the First World War off a guy called George Shelton, who I've now managed to track down. George Shelton's name's on the front, my grandfather's name's on the front, and there's one other name on there now, which is mine. That's it.
Richard, how old were you when you found it?
About 17, I would imagine.
Unreal.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you, Richard. And it's great to hear it all. Rick's up next.
Another Richard.
Yeah.
Three in a row.
Yeah. So I think the first thing that I thought of was a pretty obvious choice. It's the most recent tool that I got. It's my plane that I got from Bill, and it's it's what do you even say? Like it's been a dream for so many years to get one that I was a little shocked when I actually put in the order. I just didn't, you know, I kind of wandered around in a cloud. So obviously that's a favorite tool, but I wanted to get more deep into who I am outside of purchases. And my favorite tool is the old fashioned, I can never remember what they call it, the hand crank, twist, clamp. I don't know. But anything I ever run into a problem where, how do I do this? This is always my solution. It's the greatest piece of woodwork holding machinery I've ever used. And so there's tools I love, and then there's tools that I just can't live without. So there you go.
Oh, thank you, Rick. I've got some. I've got one. I'm just going to put this on to add me on there as well, because in my little stash behind here, there might be a little box here, which is, you know, one of these bad boys. And it's all about the people. It's all about the people, and it's just great. You know, it's lovely. It works well, but it's the fact that you guys, you know, you made it for me and sent it across. So thank you very much. So,
absolutely.
There you go. Right, we're up. We've got Andy up next. Where's Andy gone?
Yeah, I am. I'm back.
we could be a while here now. So get yourself another cup of coffee.
Here he is. Here he is. Let's put him on the spotlight.
Yeah.
There. I found him.
It's obviously going to be difficult, this. But I mean, there's one thing that really sticks in my mind, and that is the tools and things that people have given me. I mean, I do all sorts of shows and bits and pieces, and there's many people here on tonight who have given me things, and those sort of things are a special thing for me, because, you know, I've not wanted them, but people have given me, and they're special things. And yeah, so I've got to say thank you to everybody who has given me anything. It's really special to have somebody give you something. And I'll just bring this out. This was one thing that absolutely floored me. It's a
beautiful.
A little dovetail marker.
That's gorgeous.
Now,
Get back.
Can you see that? It's Edward Preston, made out of the top of an old plane blade. And a good friend of mine, Tim Smith, he turned up at the David Stanley's auction one sale, and he'd got a few of these in a box, and he was giving them to different people. I thought, oh, wow, they are absolutely, he's nailed it with these. The design on them, absolutely beautiful. And then he says, here, Andy. And he gave me that. And I was absolutely blown away. You know, it just floored me. And likewise, with the other bits and pieces people have given me, it's so special to have friends that are just so generous. I try and find things for people and give them people. I'm normally buying stuff that I want to show people anyway. I mean, I could be picking up no end of stuff now and showing you, but if you'll just permit me, I'll just show you a picture, and it will just basically say what I need to say, and hopefully this will give you a clue as to what I love. Okay, let me just grab a photo, gallery, Bluetooth. Sorry about this. I've got a couple of different pictures, but I think we'll go for this one. There's that one. Okay, so you got that?
Yep, we can see it.
So basically, there's just a plethora of tools there they're all special. They're all brilliant things. I just love taking them out and letting people see them and talking about them. And I get a lot of satisfaction from that. A lot of satisfaction. I need to get something out of it because it's bloody hard work. Although I have reined things back a bit nowadays. I'm not taking out some. Obviously, you know, when we get back out and about. But so, you know, that's it. Well, as you can see, that's only a very, very minor portion of what I've got. So yeah, I could keep it going for ages, but yeah, there you go.
Is there anything there for scale?
Scale, well, you've got standard size jointer. Obviously, the micrometer is. Does that help if I do that?
Is that a standard size door key?
Precisely.
This is Barbie Woodshop's caravan.
Yeah. It's quite confusing sometimes, but the sign's the right size.
It's the key to success, isn't it? There we are.
Yeah. So anyway, that's.
I'll trade you one of my Spokeshaves for that panel plane. If you like giving people things.
Yeah.
What's the micrometer used for?
It's I don't think it was used industrially. I think it might have been used as a teaching aid.
Or a shop display or something.
No, shop displays are basically things that look like what they are. Exhibition pieces are things that are better than they should be. But this is made, I wouldn't say crudely, because it is, you know, you can't make something like that works properly crudely. But it's not named. It's basic, but I think it might have been probably a apprentice piece made by a group of apprentices. Let's say the apprentice is for a year at Rolls-Royce and given a project. Maybe that was one of the things that they had to make between them, you know. But it works. It reads in metric, and it'll do 4 inches. Well, okay, there you go. There's my
Imperial.
What I am.
We all know what your 4 inches is like.
Yeah, so it's judging by the size of your key, anyway.
But no, I think the hole in the bottom in the web. You can see a line that's just above that where it has actually been mounted standing up. And I think it could have been used for teaching people how to read the vernier scale as well, because the great thing about that is that it's nearly a 2-inch diameter vernier scale, which makes it very easy to read.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Right, up with Will Graham up next.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, cool. I was thinking of some of the things that were said, but my initial choice was my Veritas low angle smoother. This is the first decent plane I bought myself. I tried to restore one of my grandfather's, a company named National, number 3 or number 4, I can't remember which. It didn't go very well. I've still got it in a box somewhere for a later day restoration to see if I can figure it out. The sole was really twisted kind of badly. It must have been dropped. But this is the one that started me. I had a friend that worked at Lee Valley. I had a friend that worked at Lee Valley, and he actually took the time one afternoon in the store shop. The stores in here in Toronto area have little teaching areas, and he showed me how to set it up. And I was blown away. by what I could get with it then in the smooth, thin, and almost polished. And since then, I've actually got better at it. I actually have 3 irons for it. One cambered for net 45 and one high angle. I think it's net 58. It's now got a straight iron. I've been doing a lot of joining with it. But the other thing is, it's not a tool, but it's actually this. Just sits in one of my drawers in the bench behind me. My iPad. This is my actual computer this week. Get the glare off of it. This is my dovetail mark layout kit. I put it together from various things I was picking up. There's nothing handmade here. This is long before I got into handmade tools. But this is kind of what it started me off. And this is what I reach out. It's obviously French. It sits in the top drawer behind me. And this is what I pull out. And like previous, I think it was Rusty or mentioned that they like their little square. And I have 3 little squares in the kit that I absolutely could not do anything without. And a couple of marking knives. And I use this carving knife, chip carving knife, also for doing some layouts. But that's actually probably what I like best about it. And I, hope if I could, I only got into making my own tools inadvertently in the last couple of years. And I've being inspired by some of the guys, you guys on this page, but some of the stuff that Jim and Richard have been doing. So I'm intending to go into some of those directions as well. Got some good plans.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much, Will, for sharing that with us. Jeremy, you're up next.
All right. I guess I'll share a tool that's probably my favorite tool, and the other is probably my favorite object that I don't really use as a tool. I'll start with a little story, I guess, like many of others. I live in the Midwest of the United States, which is pretty much a tool desert. From the point of view of old tools, there's not a whole lot of stuff out here because I don't know, we're just in the wrong part of the country for that. But a few years ago, I'd fallen into love with the idea of hand tools and stuff, but was not finding very many things or old things or new things. It was kind of before the resurgence of the golden age of all of the latest tool making stuff. And I had the opportunity to go visit I don't know if you know of John Cindellar's tool museum in Michigan. I don't know if it's still there or if it's even what he's up to these days. It's been several years ago since I journeyed there. But when I walked in there, I walked in the opening room and I was just, my jaws on the floor. And then he's like, come on, get out of here, because this isn't the good stuff. And that was just beyond the fathom of my imagination. That there could be stuff better than this first. And then as we went deeper and deeper into the catacombs, it was just even more mind-blowing the entire time. But in the course of that time, I fell in love with one particular plane, and later have since acquired, I don't know if it's the exact same plane or if it's its sister, but it's this Jim Leamy Infill Plow Plane. This is not really a very useful tool. It's very, very heavy. Several years after I visited John's museum, I came into a little bit of money, and I thought, well, I'm gonna inquire of Leamy how to get one of these, and I don't know, I hemmed and hawed and never purchased it. But then a few years later, Chris Schwarz posted on one of his blog posts that just kind of as a side article, hey, I'm also going to be selling at one of their open houses this weekend a fancy plane, and didn't say anything more about it. But I had known that he had posted this plane pictured on one of his magazine covers. And I said, is it by chance that plane? And he said it was. And so I was able to get this, which now has even more provenance, I think, because it comes both from Jim Leamy, who's it's just unbelievable craftsmanship, as well as the tie to John's museum, and of course Chris Schwarz is always a little provenance, and that is never a bad thing. So it's just truly a work of art. I'm not a collector by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I eschew that term, even though I do have an assortment of tools. But yeah, anyway, this is just the thing that I have that I don't use, but it's totally gorgeous. And so I just it sits on my shelf and I look at it every day, and I just think it's just the epitome of just gorgeous. So it's amazing. The tool that I probably do use a lot and is probably one of my favorites is a pear Spokeshave from Caleb James. I do have an assortment of good tools of late. After I visited John's museum, it kind of opened my eyes to like, okay, I need to fill my tool chest with good things and not worry so much about getting all of the things, but the things that I need to fill it with are the good things. And so I started to make a more concerted effort towards, individual makers making amazing tools. So I've got a few other things that I would really count as spectacular tools. Not by any stretch of the imagination, a huge collection on my end, but this tool in particular, I think it's just so much fun every time you reach for it and use it for making, chair spindles or whatever, but also just knocking off edges and it just makes quick work of everything. It works very flawlessly. And also I think pear, at least here, is unusual. I think maybe in Europe it's a little more readily available, but it's kind of an unusual species. But yeah, it just is. It's clean. It's nice. It works great. So these are the tools I have to share, I guess, today. And
thank you, Jeremy. That was a very fancy plane there, isn't it?
It is very fancy. It's truly gorgeous.
Cool,
There's a lot of brass and infill stuff, and it just it's so cool. you just spin the wheel, and yeah, but it will definitely break your wrist if you tried to make a bunch of grooves. So.
And it's not really collecting. You're probably just hoarding, like Andy and maybe myself,
No, I try to only have one. I'd limit myself to one of every. I don't have multiples of things, but I do have a range of tools to select from in a small group of. All of my planes are slightly different lengths.
Jeremy, you've got to go and get more than one of the same thing, just so you can check that the previous one is the same. No, there's no difference.
And
that's the strategy.
Appropriately, it's Shrenik, it's your time. So over to you, Shrenik.
Right. So I had two contenders for this tonight, and one is this set of pinch sticks that Mitch made for me, and another one is something I received in the post this week, a pencil made by Rick. And the reason that I have these two contenders, and I find it difficult to decide which one is the favorite, is because a year ago, Bench Talk didn't exist. I didn't have woodworking friends. I had maybe one acquaintance who did woodworking, but through Bench Talk, I've been able to create all these friendships. Bench Talk's been here as a source of comfort during difficult times. It's been here as just friendships over time. And I choose this pencil as my favorite because I've spent many hours talking to Rick. I think there was one week where we spent 5 days in a row on a video call to each other whether it was on Bench Talk or on something else. And, the fact that I will use this tool in my workshop all the time, and it's been made by a friend of mine. And Geoffrey, you showed your pencil earlier, and I think others have shown tools that have been made by other small makers and friends through that they've met before Bench Talk, but they're people on Bench Talk. And the fact that Bench Talk has been around the last year, and I think it's developed everyone's knowledge. It's developed everyone's skill set because they've seen things that other people have made, and they've discussed how things are done, different techniques, and they've gone and made different things. A perfect example is the Spokeshave that Richard Hughes made, having seen them made a full cigar shave and made a smaller one. Things like that, those skills and things that we've shared between each other. It's been a great year. less than a year, but it's been a great time, and I think it deserves a mention that I will remember this with this pencil, with these pinch ticks.
Lovely. That's very moving, Shrenik. And I think it's right that I've gone to gallery view now, and everybody's here. That we should make a toast, to say thank you to everybody. But particularly you, Shrenik. Actually, at the moment it's a toast to the bench talkers, but also to absent friends and absent family. So, Shrenik and the bench.
Shrenik and the bench. Shrenik and the bench.
Shrenik and the bench.
Shrenik and the bench.
Shrenik and the bench.
Well, there we are. We've got to cheer it up a bit, otherwise we'll all be crying.
There's a tear in my beer.
But there's quite a few of us that have kept it in there. I've seen different people quite emotional tonight, so it's quite an interesting one there.
It's a high-tech conversation
on the low-tech topic.
Live on the World Wide Web via Zoom. Bench Talk 101.